So throughout all of my flight training, I never encountered another female pilot, whether that's a female instructor or female examiner or another female student. And that's not to detract from the amazing male instructors and mentors I've had in my career, but I was sensing a bit of lack of connection, really, with other like-minded women. So what I decided to do was to host a little lunch at Brighton City Airport where I was flying, and basically just hired a room, got a plate of sandwiches, put out an open invitation to as many women from across the industry as I could find, and see what happened. And I was, a little bit nervous, to be honest. It's a pretty rogue move for me. So yeah, it was an interesting thing to do. But from that event, we had 40 women attend. We had the most amazing day, just talking, connecting, sharing stories. It was just brilliant, just talking all things aviation. And really, it was those women that day that inspired me to take the initiative forward in a more meaningful way. And I decided to create Elevate Her.
There's quite a breeze, as you can hear, coming from my right-hand side, but at least the sky is a lot brighter than it was about an hour ago. But we're having a lot of fun. It is our first ever, of course, live, what was the Armchair Air Show, now Aerobility Live. And this is also going to be our first live session of Inspirability, an absolutely really interesting session of motivational interviews, and speakers have been going online for many months now. Indeed, it's been terrific. So to kick off today, our first live Inspirability session, please welcome to the stage Harriet Pound, A320 captain, and of course the inspiration behind Inspirability. Harriet.
Well, thank you, George. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. And welcome to Inspirability Live. You can catch every single one of our Inspirability episodes so far on our Aerobility YouTube channel and any major podcast platform. Now, I have been really privileged to interview over the last 2 series some incredibly inspirational guests from a variety of backgrounds. They have shared with us their stories with the help of inspiring and helping others to navigate their own journeys. Today's special guest is no exception. She's a fixed-wing and helicopter pilot. She is the marketing director of Transair Flight Equipment, and she is the founder of Elevate Her. Please, everybody, put your hands together and give a very warm welcome to Katherine Moloney.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, Katherine. Thank you so much for joining us. Please take a seat. Right, so thank you for coming to Inspirability today, our first live episode, so thank you. So first of all then, tell me, how did you get into aviation? Tell me about your career so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So my career in aviation started when I was 18. And actually before that time, I actually had no interest in flying, believe it or not. It wasn't until I had a trial lesson in a helicopter while I was working in a warehouse at Transair Flight Equipment that it really piqued my interest in, learning more about aviation. I'd always been curious, but I never thought I was the kind of person that could fly. I never saw myself as being a pilot. So it wasn't until I had a go on the controls myself the first time that I really thought, yeah, you know what, I absolutely love this and I can definitely do it. So from there, I went on to get my helicopter PPL, which I got at 19, and I absolutely love flying helicopters. I've been, so fortunate to be able to do that, and I've enjoyed it so much. But one of the things I love most about general aviation is the variety and all the different facets of the industry to get involved in. And I really became so curious about fixed wing flying and elements that had. So during COVID, when we're all grounded and I was, thinking, I thought, you know what, I really want to do my fixed wing license as well and learn more, improve my skills, improve my airmanship. So I went on to do my fixed wing license, and I got that when I was 23. And I just love all types of aviation. It's been fantastic so far.
That's quite an unusual way around to do it then. So you did helicopters and fixed wings. How did you find doing it that way around?
Yeah, honestly, I think I did an easy way around, to be honest. I think it's much easier to learn to fly a helicopter if you've got no previous conceptions about flying at all, which I didn't. I knew absolutely nothing. And then when I went onto the fixed wing side, I found it very different. But to me, that was a brilliant challenge. And I've got improved my airmanship immensely. You know, I'm not ashamed to say that I didn't know a lot of things when I was flying helicopter, you know, like the fixed wing circuit, for example. I was like, what is this mystical thing that's above us? I have no idea what that is. Maybe not quite to the extent, but you know what I mean. And it really improved my overall understanding of aviating as a whole, and I had so much more of an appreciation for the whole industry. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge. I was way too comfortable flying slowly, which was a hangover, I think, from helicopters. But yeah, I really enjoyed the training. It was a great challenge, and yeah.
So let's talk a bit about the influences then, or any role models that you had throughout your initial start into aviation.
Yeah, so one of my biggest role models and mentors has been my dad. He's an incredible pilot and an immensely inspiring person. And I grew up watching him shows and things like that, but I was so much more preoccupied at that point with ice creams and bouncy slides, I think, rather than watching him fly, which I'm really sad about now. I wish I'd paid more attention. But it's been a great lesson for me as well, because I never really appreciated just how cool he is, and I didn't appreciate aviation as much as I should have done from an early age because I was surrounded with it all the time. But yeah, he's been an amazing mentor, and he never pushed me into flying. He never pushed me into being at Transair. And when I wanted to do it off my own accord, he's always been immensely supportive, and yeah, he's got great advice.
One of the other influences that you mentioned when we were talking was about a book, Atomic Habits.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my big beliefs is that nothing's impossible. You just need a plan. That's all you need. So you need a plan, and you need to get 1% better every single day at what you do, and just try as hard as you can to make it happen. So that book has really helped me to go, okay, doesn't matter if you're having a bad day or a good day, just try and improve 1% every day. Control the controllables. Do what you can to achieve your dreams.
One of the strap lines we have at Inspirability, well, main strap line is you have control. So I think you've encapsulated that really nicely there, saying, you have control, and you can just control the controllables and just try and get that one bit better every day, 1%.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this came back as well during my fixed wing training. I did struggle, well, not struggle, but, I had challenges, as everyone does during their training. And my instructor was amazing at going, control the controllables. You're flying to this airfield, bring them up. What's the wind doing? What runway are you going to be on? Control as much as you can, and then nothing's impossible.
And so that sort of bring into another thing you said to me when we talked about how people describe you. You said your friends call you Airport Dad. Tell us a little bit about Airport Dad and why you're called Airport Dad.
I'm a real planner. I'm a massive, massive planner. I always have a list and a plan for everything. And for me, that is how I go about achieving what I want to achieve, and I'm not alone in that. Everyone loves well, not everyone, but I certainly love a planner, and I think the girls were laughing at me a little bit when we went to Aero Friedrichshafen this year, and I turned up with a 7-stage plan on how to get there, which was thwarted immediately because our journey went horribly wrong anyway, with cancelled ferries and whatnot. But I am a massive planner, and I firmly believe in nothing's impossible. You just need a plan.
So going on from being a massive planner, launching Elevate Her has actually been a little bit outside of your comfort zone in terms of, in fact, not always being able to plan how it's going to turn out and actually relinquishing control. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But first of all, tell me, why did you launch Elevate Her?
Great question. So throughout all of my flight training, I never encountered another female pilot, whether that's in female instructor or female examiner or another female student. And that's not to detract from the amazing male instructors and mentors I've had in my career, but I was sensing a bit of lack of connection, really, with other like-minded women. So what I decided to do was to host a little lunch at Brighton City Airport where I was flying, and basically just hired a room, got a plate of sandwiches, put out an open invitation to as many women from across the industry as I could find, and see what happened. And I was, a little bit nervous, to be honest. It's a pretty rogue move for me. So yeah, it was an interesting thing to do. But from that event, we had 40 women attend. We had the most amazing day, just talking, connecting, sharing stories. It was just brilliant, just talking all things aviation. And really, it was those women that day that inspired me to take the initiative forward in a more meaningful way, and I decided to create Elevate Her because I also thought there was a bit of a gap for a one-stop shop for all the resources you need to get into aviation, like where to learn to fly, how do I get into doing my PPL, how do I start doing my ATPL. So I tried to compile as much information as I could into one place, and that became the website. Now we've got the community element as well, where we run lots of events and things like that, and just connect as many women as we can globally.
One of the very common themes that I see in a lot of our guests when they talk about their stories and when I ask them sort of their secrets behind it or how they've been successful, they've always said surround yourself with a support network.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So fortunate, when I launched Elevate Her, it was just me, and I'm proud, so proud to say that I've got a team of 14 amazing women around me, they're just incredible, and we all support, encourage each other, and it's so important for, wider careers, not just even in aviation, but any other leadership careers with women, to have a support system around you where you can all lift each other up and empower one another.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you find your tribe.
Yeah, find your tribe. Yeah, exactly.
So talk about leadership. So you're very young and you've done incredible things. So tell us a little bit about coping with leadership and success at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, success, I'll let you know when I get there. I don't think I'm quite yet there yet. I mean, I've only been in the industry 7 years and there's a lot more still left to do. But I've immensely enjoyed my career so far. And when it comes down to leadership, I think so much of it is self-confidence and having conviction in your own beliefs. And I've had a lot of lessons to learn through, over my short career so far. And one of them has been, particularly, I think, from my perspective, coming in as quite a young woman into the aviation industry, is I've changed my leadership style quite a lot. So when I was younger, I used to come in with maybe a bit more of an aggressive, like, I'm here attitude, like, I know what I'm talking about. And that didn't really work for me. And I had to really learn that it's more important to have a quiet confidence and a quiet belief in your own convictions. And that only comes through time and experience. And now I have a much more conservative, I know what I'm doing is right, it's what I want to do. I'm confident in my beliefs and my knowledge, and that's a much more quiet way to take leadership forward. But, that's been a personal journey really for myself, I think, over the last few years.
And what inspired you to make that change? Was it maybe looking at other female leaders and seeing how they led, or looking at maybe getting feedback? What was the journey?
Do you know what? It's actually really interesting. I was thinking about this the other day, and actually it was a meeting I had with a lady who was very high up in a big aviation company, and we were talking about meeting strategies and things like that. And she looked at me, and I really wanted to impress her, so I was going into overdrive, like talking, and she said, "You know what? Sometimes the best thing, and some things that close meetings the best, is just the silence. You don't need to feel like you need to fill the space all the time." And I was 18 when I had this interaction with her, and I just thought about that so much. I was like, oh my goodness, she's so right. It's you don't need to. I think sometimes, especially as a woman in a male-dominated industry, you want to be the best. You want to make sure that you're known for having the facts and having all the information, and to put yourself out there. But if you're confident in what you're doing, sometimes it's best to just sit back and just let it, just sit in your own quiet belief.
Yeah, it's a little bit of imposter syndrome, I think. We're talking about that as well. Do you find that you've ever sort of had imposter syndrome, or have you got any? Oh,
totally. Yeah. I mean, right now. Right now. But, I think imposter syndrome actually is a positive thing, because all it is a gap between where you are now and where you will be. So if you look at it like that, no, you're never failing, you're never doing anything wrong, you've just got more to learn. And every experience you do is you're going to learn more and more, and then suddenly you've closed that gap to who you want to be or who you think you can be, and then you get the next thing and the next thing, and that's how it should be.
You've got a great team behind you, and I think it's important to remember that sometimes if you're in a position, you're there because someone's believed in you, and they've put you there because they've believed in you.
Yeah, I think it's so important to inspire one another and lift each other up. And I've kind of encountered in my career perhaps sometimes maybe the perception that there's only space for one woman in this area of the industry, or two, and then maybe you think, oh, that's it, there's only space for two of us. But it's not, there's space for everyone, and we should all bring each other up together. We should all empower and lift each other up and be each other's supports and advice groups and everything. And that's what is going to make a difference in increasing the percentage of women in this industry.
Absolutely, and collectively we achieve so much more of supporting each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about building resilience then, because what you've done is absolutely incredible, but I'm sure there have been some challenges along the way. So tell me how you build resilience and what tips you've got for our online and live audience.
Yeah. So resilience has been a big theme for me over my short career in aviation so far. Particularly, I've done some stuff on social media, and I've had various comments over the years, as I'm sure a lot of people have, where it's perhaps undermining your perception of your own flying, saying you're flying on the wrong side, or it's Photoshop, or you're doing this wrong and that wrong. And you really have to go back then when you get those comments and go, am I doing this right? Do I believe that what I'm doing is correct? And if you do, that is resilience. That's you going back to yourself and reaffirming, yes, I am doing this right. I am confident and happy in what I'm doing. And I think that's been one of the biggest themes for me, really, especially on social media, is to have to come back to myself and really believe in what I'm doing. So I'm very grateful for those experiences and those challenges, because I think they've pointed me in a much better direction and really strengthened my character over the years.
And in terms of how you can build resilience, what tips can you give?
Yeah, I think resilience is a hard one. I feel like it's something you have to experience yourself. So it's challenges you have to go through. But I would always recommend coming back to, what do you think about yourself? Because everyone else is just noise. What do you think about what you're doing? Do you believe what you're doing is right? And to always come back to, my opinion of myself is the only thing that really matters at the end of the day.
And maybe listening, like you say, everything else is just noise, but you surround yourself with this team of people whose opinions that you trust. And if you have those moments where you're doubting yourself, you know who your tribe is, you know who you can speak to.
Absolutely. Yeah, go to those people, talk it through, and as long as you and your tribe are happy, then that's all good.
So you mentioned just now overcoming challenges. So tell us a little about some challenges you've had to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many challenges along the way, as everyone has in their aviation career when you're learning to fly and you're going through things, or you're setting up a business or whatever. But I really think that challenges are so positive because they really point you towards where you should be. You learn so much from them going forward. I mean, certainly I've had lots of challenges in, Elevate Her, and people perhaps not agreeing or having a different opinion. But those actually have been very useful for me, because it really refines your opinion and your arguments and makes you really think, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? So I think those actually have been very useful for me.
And it really strengthens your inner resolve as well.
Totally, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you have to firmly believe in yourself and what you're doing, yeah.
And let's talk a little bit now about women in aviation and the mission behind Elevate Her. So why do you think Elevate Her is important for, my goodness, look at this weather, fantastic.
I might have to take my glasses off.
We're still just about dry here. So let's talk a little bit about why you think Elevate Her is important for raising the profile of women in aviation.
Yeah, so I think raising the percentage of women in aviation across all aviation careers is immensely important. And I believe that because diversity breeds innovation. And this industry cannot continue to thrive unless we have innovative thinking, diversity of thought, and diversity of background to bring that about. So that is really the mission. Oh my goodness.
So tell me,
sorry, got a face full of rain there.
So let's talk a bit about the numbers of women in aviation. Can you share those with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're still incredibly low. So even in the UK, it still sits at about 5% for female pilots, which, come on guys, it's 2024. It's too low. We need to get the numbers up, and Elevate Her is dedicated to doing that. We do that through changing the narrative at a ground route level. So with information resources online and to schools, cadets, also through social media, through promoting really positive female role models, of which we have so many in the UK and overseas, to change that perception at a fundamental level. And hopefully more young women will see others achieving the industry and want to do it themselves.
How can we encourage more women into the aviation industry or to consider it as a career?
Yeah, I think that is the biggest question. I think a lot of it does come down to role models. And when I was at school even, we did aptitude training, and mine actually came out as an RAF pilot, and I threw it in a bin. I thought,
really?
Yeah, I thought, I can't do that. I'm not the person. And I think it was because, looking back, I'd never seen someone like myself in that role. Like I thought, Tom Cruise, do you know what I mean? Like I did not think someone like me. So I think unless we can change that perception for young kids, when they say draw a pilot, they perhaps draw a female pilot, then I think we won't get anywhere. So I think that's why social media will play such a big role over the coming years, because I think putting all of those images out there, that positive content, is going to change that narrative.
And you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what about women in leadership roles? Because maybe not just in the aviation industry, but also looking in other industries as well. There's still a real shortage of women in leadership roles, particularly in the boardroom. So what would you say to women to encourage them to apply for those roles?
I would say make sure you have a good support system around you. I think that's really important to have people you can go to who are going to lift you up, because it can be a lonely place and you can feel like maybe you don't belong there. But it comes back to finding your tribe, whether it's Elevate Her, whether it's another organisation that helps you. As long as you have a group of people around you that can lift you up, and also as long as you've got strong conviction in yourself and your confidence in yourself that you can do it, then go for it.
And also putting your hand forward, putting your hand up and putting yourself forward. Because I think, lots of studies have shown that women will see a job description and they think if they don't meet one of the criteria, that's it, they can't apply. Whereas
so true.
men, men that will know they meet maybe half the criteria will go, well, yeah, I'll give that a go. So it's about actually encouraging women to go, you're actually more than good enough, just give it a go.
And that's when it comes down to empowering each other as well and going, you can do this, put yourself forward, you are definitely good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes maybe people outside, they can see the wood from the trees and they can say, look, we can see that you've got these skills, so go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. So let's talk a bit about the driving missions then behind Elevate Her.
Yeah, so the driving mission is really simple, and that's just to raise the numbers of women in aviation careers globally. So that is very much our mission. We are completely dedicated to it. We have members now all over the world, globally. We have a completely free membership, so everything with Elevate Her is free to attend our events, free to have all our resources. And, we are wanting to change this at a fundamental level, and I really do think that now is the time, and we have a fantastic team who are equally as passionate about this, and I really do think we can make a difference.
And you said also about the gender of pilots, because I often find that you have to say the term female pilots.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one, and I've gone backwards and forwards myself on a lot of these issues, including do we even need organisations just for women in aviation? My thoughts are yes, we do, until the point where we don't need them, and I really hope that happens, where it comes completely normalised. And it's the same with kind of the term pilot. I usually say female pilot, and for me that's because it's fundamentally changing the narrative at a base level, because in your mind the picture changes straight away. But I really hope in the future that once we say pilot, it's a completely encompassing, image we have in our head.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, the little children at school will draw a picture of a female pilot, or it doesn't matter what gender the pilot is, but not always just stereotyped to Tom Cruise or Sully. Or Fantastic. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about diversity and inclusivity then. Why do you think that's important?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I've kind of, said a little bit about this already, but diversity breeds innovation, and the aviation industry just thrives on innovation. If we want the industry to become, safer, greener, more sustainable over the years, we need those new ideas and those new thoughts, and that's only going to come from people from a diverse range of backgrounds, experiences, and that is why diversity is so important in this industry.
And what do you think organisations can do? I mean, I'm thinking that here at Aerobility, for example, we've got the Equal Skies Charter, which is about looking at, our disabled community and how making opportunities more accessible for them within the aviation industry as well. So what do you think the employers can do to look at maybe getting more pilots in that are women, or more employees that are women? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think there are definitely things that can be done. I mean, one of them is working with organisations like Elevate Her. We do a lot about sharing opportunities, job opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities, with our network, who are the kind of consumer base, as it were, looking for these opportunities. But also think, we've got to look at language and the way that we present roles. So, a lot of it is very kind of male pronoun-y type language, and if maybe we could make it a bit more neutral as well. There's little areas where we can maybe encourage women to think, hey, this isn't just a male thing. This is for me too. And even things like airfields. I mean, I've been to airfields where there are no ladies loose. I know it sounds really silly, and it does sound really silly, but little things like that we can do across the board in the industry to make it more of a welcoming place.
I remember when I started my flying training, which wasn't that many years ago, there wasn't actually a female uniform.
Yeah,
there was a male uniform, but not a female uniform. Absolutely, and things like maternity policies as well.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
And I think another thing a lot of women who I've spoken to airlines are looking at now, it's menopause support as well, because I think we're losing, employers, not just in aviation, but throughout many employers and many industries are losing women either childbirth, maternity,
So right.
menopause. There's a sort of
Yeah.
leaky pipeline.
Yeah, totally. I mean, once you get more women into aviation, what do you do with them? This is this is a big question, and we really need to look at our policies when it comes to menopause, when it comes to talking about women with young kids and how we support that and how we retain all of this talent and all of this knowledge in the industry. Definitely.
Is Elevate Her working with any industries, any employers at the moment for that?
We definitely would like to. I mean, we've only been going a year so far, so this is definitely something in our 5-year plan to be doing and just spreading awareness. But as you know, we write a lot of blogs on this kind of thing. Make sure we give the platform to as many people as we can to speak about these issues because they are so important, and we need to talk about them more in this industry.
But actually, yeah, your last blog at Elevate Her, I found that really interesting because it was talking about whether women are being designed out of aviation, because it was talking about the dimensions that we use to design certain cockpits.
Yeah.
Saying, well, actually, a lot of women don't fit in those. Can you tell us a little bit about that blog?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love to claim to have written it, but I didn't. It was written by Maddie Dooley, who's an amazing writer and one of our volunteers. But yeah, it's just phenomenal about, how the industry is just not designed for women at kind of a base level, even with aircraft. And I believe, you may want to look up this blog yourselves, but one of the quotes from it was that only 6% of the women who apply to be in the RAF as a pilot will actually make the physical requirements to be able to sit in the seats, which is quite phenomenal, really, when you think about it. And I know that improvements are being made and other adjustments are being made, but we really need to look at this at a fundamental level when we're designing aircraft, even, which is why it's so important to get more women into engineering roles and aircraft design roles as well.
And I also saw on social media that you're joining up with some organisations to do apprenticeships as well.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a few amazing partners who have all kinds of opportunities. So one of them is Avinysis, which is an amazing aviation critical company. They have lots of roles available at the moment for pilots. They're trying to get more female pilots and engineers in there. And also Draken, we've recently partnered with as well. They're offering some incredible apprenticeships in the engineering sector. So definitely recommend you check those out going forward, because they would love to see some more women apply for those roles too.
What would you say to any women who've maybe got a bit of self-doubt about putting themselves forward for those roles?
Go for it. You can do it. No, and you know what? The worst thing is they say no.
That's true.
It's not the end of the world, and I think there's no such thing as failure. There's only something to point you in the direction you're always supposed to go in. I know that sounds a bit wishy-washy, but I do genuinely believe that we don't fail at things, we're just pointed in the right direction. And just go for it, apply. Like, the worst thing is they could say, hey, no, because of these couple of reasons, try again next year or something like that. And that's not a bad thing, that's feedback. So yeah, I would definitely say give it a try, why not?
Actually, when we were talking before the show, I was saying to you about one of the things we often talk about in Aspirability is overcoming failure. And that's when you said to me, well, I don't believe in failure.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to anybody who's maybe failed at something and they're trying to move forwards from it?
I would say you haven't failed, you've just learned something. Just look at, we've all come across challenges. We've all had to go back and reassess maybe what we're doing and, okay, I didn't approach that right, or I could have done that better. But that's not failing. That's just learning something about yourself and learning more for the future going forward.
Are there any challenges you can think of that you've overcome that you can share with us that we can learn from today?
Yeah, definitely. So, I was quite an anxious pilot, really, when I was flight training, and I had to really overcome that challenge by believing in myself. And I really don't think I'm alone in that. I think that a lot of people experience kind of anxiety, self-doubt, when they're training. They think, God, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to be here. And that's something very personal you have to overcome. But I think you can only do that by kind of positive talk to yourself. Go, hey, well, I've got this far. I've done that. I've done this. So, and really build up a case for yourself in your head and to move that forward. But also, like I said earlier, control the controllables. If you know that you are maybe struggling with something, do as much as you can to improve the situation, whatever it may be. So I know I was quite apprehensive when I was coming up to my cross-country qualifier in fixed wing. So I did as much planning as I could. I controlled everything I could control. I planned down to the minute. I rang all the airfields. I got all the information I possibly could, and it really mitigated that kind of apprehension. And I ended up absolutely loving it, as we all do when we go flying. It's amazing. But yeah, I would say control the controllables, believe in yourself.
And also, I think the other thing you touched on with Atomic Habits was just trying to get that little bit better each day.
Yeah.
Don't try and boil the ocean. Don't expect to go from 0 to ATPL hero in a day.
Oh God, yeah. When you look at it, if you want to be a commercial pilot or even if you want to be a PPL pilot, it looks like a mountain to climb. It's huge. It's a huge challenge. But if you try and get that 1% better every day, improve that 1%, move that tiny bit closer every day, then before you know it, you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just small steps, isn't it? Small steps, day by day, incremental gains. Fantastic. So let's talk about Elevate Her then. One of the things you said when we were talking is about how you like to plan everything.
Yeah.
But with Elevate Her, you sort of relinquished control.
I have, yeah. It was terrifying.
So how did you do that?
Well, when I went to launch Elevate Her, to be honest, I was pretty scared. I knew that I didn't know how it would be received. It was something I very much firmly believed in, but I also knew that I had gone backwards and forwards myself, thinking, God, do we need stuff just for women in aviation? Is this maybe not needed now? But I thought about it a lot, and I thought, yes, we do still need this now until the day we don't. So I stuck with it. I didn't plan anything past the launch. So I knew I had a day where I was going to launch it, and after that, I had no plan. So, that was very different for me. But launch went well. But for me, it was really important that it was always community driven. So it was always driven by our members, what they wanted and what they wanted to see. So in fact, we didn't even have a membership when we started because I didn't know if people would want that. And it wasn't until we got a lot of comments going, I really want to be more a part of this. Can I be a member? That I thought, okay, let's do this in a way that can be fully accessible to everyone. But we are very much driven by the community, which is why I've had to relinquish control. I think I've kind of said this to you before. Sometimes I feel like Elevate Her's PA. A little bit. It's taken on a life of its own, which is incredible, and I'm here to help it come to fruition the way people want it to.
And tell me what's next for Elevate Her. What are your future plans?
Yeah, so we have a lot of future plans actually. We have a lot going on. We have a new launch coming soon, which will be very exciting. It will be more of an interactive way for people to connect with each other globally. So we have a lot of events coming up. I will be going to Oshkosh quite soon, and we are also going to Air Expo Abu Dhabi in November as well. So our intention is fully to be a global community of women and encompass all different aviation careers.
Fantastic. That's absolutely incredible. So not just in the UK, but globally.
Global. In fact, now we have members all over the world. We have members everywhere from Iceland to the States to Norway to Australia, New Zealand, all over the place, which has just been amazing to see.
And tell me about some of the team that you're working with at Elevate Her.
Yeah, they're all absolutely fantastic. We have some incredible people. I've always also mentioned Maddie Dooley, who's one of our blog writers. She's a FO for EasyJet. Incredible Jess Fraser, who's here today, Lily, Ez, and Charlie as well, who are in the crowd somewhere today. But no, they're all incredible women in aviation in their own rights, pilots, engineers, air traffic controllers, and I feel so proud and so honoured to be working with them.
And for anybody wanting to get involved with Elevate Her, how can they do it?
Just get in contact with us. Drop us a line, drop us a message on Instagram, just send us an email. We're always looking for really enthusiastic people to come and help us out, spread the word and help with the mission.
Fantastic. So what would you say to anybody listening to this interview who's listened to you starting Elevate Her? What advice or what would you hope that they would take away from your incredible story today?
I would hope people take away that do what you believe is right, do what makes you happy. And as long as you have your self-belief, your self-conviction in what you want to do, that's all that matters. And just go for it.
And is there anything, if you were going to go back to Katherine prior to starting Elevate Her, or maybe Katherine at school, anything you wish you'd known or anything that you'd like to say?
I wish I'd had more self-belief then. I wish especially when I was at school, I really wish I believed in myself more. But then I had to learn that the hard way. I think as we all do, we all got to go through a bit of character building and learn our lessons the hard way. So I wouldn't change anything at all, and I'm just really grateful for the experiences I've had.
And how do you think women can boost? 'Cause I think it's a common theme that I see that I fly with women that are absolutely brilliant as first officers, and I say to them, when are you going for your promotion to captain? Yeah. And they say, I don't think I'm ready yet. I don't think I'm good enough. And I think, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. Yeah. So how can we build our self-esteem?
I think that's a very individual question as well. I mean, for me, it really came down to that positive talk in my head, and I think it's one of those things that can only come from you. You have to dig deep and think, am I ready for this? And also, am I prepared, even if I'm not 100% there, to make that leap? You know, it comes back to imposter syndrome. Can I learn? Can I, you know, maybe start and start that process forward? But I really do think it comes individually from people, and you've got to have that self-belief and self-confidence. But you got to learn it. I'm afraid it's kind of one of those things, isn't it? But yeah, I think it's a massive support system as well is so helpful. Like you said, women lifting each other up, and if you're not sure, you have someone to talk to who can maybe, you know, help each other.
Absolutely. Well, Katherine, you are an incredible inspiration. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to hear about Elevate Her, and I'm really excited to hear about where it's going to go. We wish you all the best of luck in the future.
No, thank you so much for having me today, despite the weather. It's been absolutely delightful, even if a bit breezy, but no, thank you so much.